But the thing that sparked it was it's only two writers. It's me and Sean. And on May 11th, Sean came to me and told me, out of respect for our relationship, and since we've been working together for almost a year now, I have been talking with other publications and I might be leaving. And at that point, I started like we were close as well. So I started like honestly, me personally, I never had any conversations with anyone internally about like delayed payments except for Joseph.
What is it with his value system? Why is he spending all this money on subs and trying to buy friends of people that are never going to care about him and they're not paying his stuff? How does this happen?
He always said, like, even in Slack and in meetings and stuff, that I'm bad with financials. But
let's pivot here to this is an interesting topic. So for those, we'll bring in our guest in just a moment here, but for those this week who followed any sort of Valorant news, you would have seen that the CEO of a very prominent news website, TheSpike.gg, was, accused of just not paying his staff. Somehow we're still living enough in the fucking dark ages that this is happening. So the individual is Artur Minikov, known for a couple of different endeavors in the esports space. The first that I remember was OP Skins. That was where I believe there was a lot of money made. A lot of money was made there. A fortune was built in OP Skins. And then Artur, as the entrepreneur that he styled himself as, went on, tried to start an Overwatch team. It was a contenders team. Well, we can talk about that. After that, he attempted to build a competing battle royale game called the Forge Arena. And that didn't exactly pop off. I think that's already been sunset now. And so following that, we have the ownership of a coverage website related to Valorant. And obviously, those of you who've seen the show before will know that we've done some quote unquote sponsored segments with TheSpike.gg before. Just to make it very clear, that was not like a monetary partnership we had with them. It was supposed to be cross promotion where we scratch their back, they scratch ours. So no money changed hands. And that partnership ended a couple of weeks ago for reasons completely different to this, but probably related in some way, if you get the hint. So that's all done. And full disclosure, I personally know Artur Minikov. I would consider myself to have been friendly with him, but I never dealt with him in a business capacity. I never worked for him, worked with him, nothing like that. So I never really got to see this side of him.
Yeah.
But I and he was friendly enough, but I could tell something smelled like fish. And I'm kind of glad that maybe I wasn't involved in too many business stuff with him. But there was definitely a sense that this guy was pretty happy to buy allies in the scene, to buy them, which is ironic for multiple reasons. We'll get onto that in a bit. So the first time I met him was at he threw a party sort of before the contenders finals when he was still running Team Envision, who, people like McGravy, actually quite a few Overwatch League players who were sort of on that roster. And there was a problem when they didn't get paid either. So Artur he ran that team, and he didn't pay his team after they disbanded because he was pissed off that he wasted his money or something like that. Like that was why he didn't pay them, because he was just, I don't know, just some shitty excuse that just didn't make any sense. So that's my experience with the guy. And so I already kind of, when I saw this coming, I was like, look, you just notice about this, when there's someone that walks around in the scene that's always sort of followed by disquiet, and you have to wonder like what's going on there, Vance. I know you, like, I'm not going to try and turn people around and try to get people to light them up, because we actually have people that were directly affected by Artur that we want to hear from. But yeah, I know you also knew him as well.
Yeah, I think for me it was like, it's good to see the good and the bad for it. And I guess for you and I, Uber, it's like we kind of saw the good of it in some sense, because for me, back in I've known Artur by name. We've crossed paths because he's from Montreal as well. So I've seen him. I've heard about the parties. I've heard about everything that was really cool that I never got a part of, actually, because I wasn't cool enough for that, even as a caster back then either. But once I got back into Valorant, or once I got back into esports, that's where I got to know Artur a little bit more, because he was starting off with TheSpike. and now our paths have crossed. And the good part of it is that he was always looking out for me. So when it came down to like the Pulse thing that happened over that summertime, he was the one that was very vocal to be like, yo, if this Dan Cyback from Pulse is not paying us, he should fuck off and get out of the scene. And he's been the one that's been super vocal about it. And now it's super ironic that it happens that it's going to be now Arthur that's unfortunately not paying everybody else. And now he's the one that unfortunately has to leave the scene. So again, I only know like the good part of it when he was looking out for me, but now the bad part of it, we get a chance to talk about it with Mustafa.
Suffered by literally everybody that's ever fucking worked with him.
Yeah.
That has ever had to be paid by him or whatever. Let's cut to the chase. So let's bring in our guest for this segment here. Because I think that this is where we can really cut to the issue quickly. His name is Mustafa Hossam. You may have seen that he was actually the author of the twitlonger that sparked this controversy, this conversation, if you will. So we're very lucky to be able to bring him onto the show. Thank you so much for joining us, Mustafa. And yeah, I know obviously probably been a crazy few days for you, so we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
It's my honor, honestly, to be on an episode of Valoranting, and just to reference the previous segment, I would pay to watch Uber play Valorant in a hot tub.
Hell yeah. I love the view, by the way. That looks like a fucking cool view where you're at.
It's Dubai. Come here.
Hell yeah. Dude, I've been. When I've been, they haven't finished building that. Is it the Burj? The one that's 182 floor? Yeah. So they were still building that, and they were still building the monorails. And I saw, sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but I was on the highway, the boulevard, and usually there's a lot of traffic in the boulevard. Yeah. I turn around, and there's a fucking sheik with a fucking tiger in his back seat. He had a fucking tiger in his back seat. I was like, holy crap, man, these guys are fucking baller. So once the opportunity comes again, Mustafa, I'm going to make my way out for sure.
For sure, and I would love to meet any of you.
Damn, Vance, really life story, bro. It's going to be like that. My only experience with Dubai is I had to connect through there because I used to fly from Sydney to Frankfurt, and it was like 16 hours to Dubai, and I had to stay there for like 10 hours, and I stuck in the airport. So
I did the CGS UAE qualifier, so back in 2007. So that was
oh shit,
yeah, so that was back then, man. CGS, sorry, CGS, not CES.
That aside, Mustafa, look, you've been in this space quite a while, right? This is not your first rodeo, you know, as a journalist or as a sort of someone who provides coverage for gaming and esports. I'd love to start at the start, man, and just know sort of, you know, your background, but also what sort of inspired you to get on board with this site, and what was pitched to you, like what was the vision, the promise that was sort of made to you?
So as you mentioned, like it's not my first like writing job. I'm not new to the scene or anything. I've actually been writing for like a little less than 6 years now.
Nice.
I've wrote for multiple like reputable publications as well, Dual Shockers, Tech Raptor, a lot of websites that actually get featured, their names featured on accolades trailers. So I joined TheSpike when it was just a few months old. Back in June 2020. So we were just approaching a year basically. And at the start, like people say, like, you know, Artur's background, so why did you go into this as well? Again, we already know his entire history, but it was like the spark of Valorant because I'm a huge Riot Games fan in general in terms of like older games, Legends of Runeterra, TFT, League of Legends, everything. And I knew that they were going to take care of Valorant. They were going to make it their own thing, and try to leverage it as well. And the opportunity to work with a website that's going to make my writing specific to Valorant and perhaps become the next, like, draw in those CS:GO underrated players and slept on players from CS:GO scene switching to Valorant, and their fans coming in, and the Riot Games fans coming in. It was apparent that TheSpike had an opportunity to grow. And honestly, the first, I won't deny it, the first few months where everything was going great, we had partnerships with a lot of brands. We have partnerships with a lot of streams, with a lot of tournaments where we had our names on the screen, where we had our trailer displayed between breaks. But everything relatively like kept on declining over months. And the team kept getting smaller and smaller, each of them leaving for different reasons. But ultimately, it was either related to pay or a change of working environment, with things, as I said, just slowly declining. And what the past few months, it has been just two writers. So all the content that you see on the website going up, it was just me and Sean, basically.
So like where for me it seems as though it wasn't really explained what like the real vision of it then was when we were trying to get the spike going, for example, because as you tell me, Mustafa, you're
Yeah.
seeing like the name the spike show up a little bit more on streams, partnerships, and whatnot. But if we're looking at what Artur mentioned in the posts or whenever he had like his Twitter space talk, he talked about a lot about him using his own money and that he never really went on and like worked for like they never had there was never any finance going on behind, right? There was nobody that backed up in terms of like capital to support the spike, and it was all Artur. So if the name the spike comes on often in all these partnerships, what was the end goal? Was it like to be like an acquisition somehow, or like was it going to be selling, getting more
Like,
sponsorship?
was he trying to sell it eventually?
Exactly.
Was an
What was
exit
the plan?
strategy, or was he trying to sustain it? Because it's hard to
The
see how it was. Yeah.
the point the point that he kept selling even early on was he made profit out of OP skins. So he
Yes.
has
Yeah.
the knowledge on how to advertise, how to sell products, how to make sure that his baby is profitable.
Okay.
So so the spike was going into that. We had the follower base, we had the reader base, we had the advertising space on the website, but it was just like a question of time, like building up that reputation, building up that name, building up that follower base.
Yeah.
And then eventually, and we actually started within the like the last few months before I left. There was starting to like be ads displayed on the sides, betting
so it's ads.
websites displayed. Yeah, betting websites under the match pages on tournaments, pick'ems as well, which we like. There was plans on like combining pick'ems with our advertising and making like stuff like that. Yeah, so there was
Okay.
plans for sure.
So it makes sense. So because you had the follower base and stuff like that too, it's not about selling. It's just trying to get advertisement space so that this advertising space would sustain the website and also the employees, because there's no like well, let's face it here and let's be honest, like the traffic in itself and like people talking on forums is not going to make you guys money. There had to be some sort of way, and I guess it's the advertising space. Okay, got it.
So you mentioned then that when you started, everything was good, right? We're starting to see the vision behind it. Now you're saying that gambling sites and stuff starting to come on, so the monetization is potentially there. A lot of money made off OP skins. So where did things start to take a turn south for you?
It's honestly the payments that were coming in on time in the first few months, and then things started to slowly shift into not being able to pay on time, things getting delayed, um, excuses, empty promises, just delaying. Like the thing is, when you're attached to a place, honestly, like when someone tells you, I'm doing my best to make it profitable. I'm speaking to this guy or I'm speaking to this guy, or with and the thing is, we've had talks. I'm like full disclosure on this. We've had talks with Riot Games at some point for like things that we could do with them, like landing pages and so on, which we saw an opportunity to make this bigger. And when like people say that 7 months is too long for you to stay quiet, but the thing is, it's like a month of quiet, and then when you think of it, and then an excuse pops up or like something that gives you hope, so you wait another month.
Yep.
And the thing is, I didn't go to Artur every month to complain, and I have like Slack conversations to show for it. The last time I complained to Artur about payment was in February, and we never talked, and we never spoke even in Slack since then, till a message in April about his OP NFTs project, and then the what's happening right now, the messages that's happening right now. The I used to message Joseph about it, the CTO, because honestly, just to like as well like clear Joseph's name, Joseph is in the same boat as us, honestly.
Sure.
Yeah. So I used to tell him like, try to push Artur for payment. I know you're in direct contact with him. Try to push him if it's possible to send it right now. Try to push him to clear the payments, because payments get piled up to a point where it's hard to pay off. Like when you pay a small amount month by month, it's not the same as just chunking in a big chunk of money right away, and it's
Paying off
harder
your
to
fucking
pull out
credit
from.
card, always paying the minimum credit all the time.
Yeah,
Your credit still
exactly,
it
exactly.
gets worse.
Exactly. So when you think of it, it just gets harder and harder on Artur to pay it off.
Yeah, I think within esports as well, there's almost like a culture, like people saying it's 7 months is too long, and I think when you think about that in a traditional working environment, sure, but in esports, there's a very, it's almost in the culture that you don't get paid when you fucking expect to. You know, if a motherfucker tells you in a month you got the money, it's going to be in 3 months. Like I remember working for ESL Italy a few years back. It was literally 1 year and 2 months late. They paid me for the Vodafone Championships in Italy. So I completely get that. I think that's a very ignorant way of looking at it to whoever's telling you that, like, oh, you should have spoken up before 7 months. It's esports, man. You know, this shit happens all the time. But yeah, when you're an employee for a company like this, it's unacceptable for sure.
Fuck, it sucks that that's the definition of esports. So
I really get the impression after looking at the breadth of Artur's business ventures that he struck gold with an idea on OP skins and wasn't able to replicate that same degree of success. Now, what do you think the purpose of OP NFTs was? Because it almost sounded like to me like he was trying to fund the Spike.gg with that particular venture, like that he was basically taking out more loans to pay off, a loan that he was trying to pay. Like, what you see this going on? You're an employee of his. You see him trying all this new stuff. Like, there's a fucking Twitter space talking about esports and NFTs every night. Like, you think I'm clicking on that shit? Fuck no. I'm going to scroll down and look at fucking anime titties or some shit. So, well, how is it for you then seeing him try these other ventures while he's not really paying people, splashing this money around? Like, it's got to be very strange.
It wasn't just OP NFTs. It was before it the Forge. He tried to revive the Forge at some point. And in between, he tried to do Top Skins, which is basically OP Skins 2.0. And then it got so everything that started got scratched. The Reforged Revival got scratched, and then Top Skins got scratched, and then OP NFTs was in development. So, and each one of them, it's basically he promised that I'm working on this. Once this takes off, I have partners and investors putting their money into this, and I'm sure I'm going to get profitable off of this, and then I'm going to pay it. So he had these promises a lot. Like I basically I got. Thing is, I don't want to sound like Artur is a villain, because at some points, like even Uber said, at some points you feel like he's a good person as a person, but in terms of business and financials and dealing with him on a working relationship, sometimes it can be really really difficult to know where he's going and what he's actually doing at the moment.
What do you make of his reaction? So when obviously you went public about this story, what blew my mind more than anything is that instead of acknowledging the issue or even recognizing it, the first thing that Artur does...
He went to war.
Well, like, sorry. I mean, what a fucking dickhead. Why is he just... Everyone who sort of goes to him, he's calling everyone hypocrites. He's trying to attract big news outlets. By the way, Upcomer came to him and then he just told them to fuck off because they weren't going to spin the story he wanted them to spin. So he's obviously just trying to get... He's like, only big news orgs come to me and I'll tell my story. Yeah, like Dot Esports, Dot Esports. No, they're not actually that big. You know, they didn't really tell the story that I wanted them to. What is this? He's calling everyone backstabbers, everyone hypocrites.
Yeah.
Where does this come from?
I think it was probably a roller coaster of emotions, because he went on Slack because let me tell you like the story of it. It was 7 months, 7 months of unpaid. So basically, honestly, if something didn't spark it, it would have been 9 or 10 or 11 or whatever, or maybe we could have pulled out the money from him eventually. But the thing that sparked it was, it's only two writers. It's me and Sean. And on May 11th, Sean came to me and told me, out of respect for our relationship, and since we've been working together for almost a year now, I have been talking with other publications and I might be leaving.
Mhm.
And at that point, I started, like, we were close as well. So
Mhm.
I started, like, honestly, me personally, I never had any conversations with anyone internally about like the late payments except for Joseph. So I
Okay.
tried to, so I basically opened up on it, and then it appeared like it's a bigger issue than just me. It's not just my delayed payment. So and then I spoke to Joseph about it, and then it turned out that he's with us as well in the same boat. So basically, we came to the conclusion that on May 12th, me and Joseph, we did a very a group on Slack with people that we know are owed money, and
Mhm.
we gave Artur a deadline for the 24th. Okay, that basically will slow down content up to the 24th, and if the payment isn't done by the 24th, we're not gonna cover masters at all,
Mhm.
nothing. Um, and even before the 12th, like, he wasn't online on Slack for around like 3 days before that, and then when it was like texting your crush, you send the text and then you sit next to it waiting for something to happen,
Yeah.
so
And it's still not the message that you want whenever it's like sent.
exactly. So basically, he didn't come online at the 12th, he didn't come online at the 13th, he didn't come online at the 14th. And honestly, it was everything that's on my mind for those
Yeah.
people.
Sure.
So, and by the way, as well, just so like it's clear, the tweet longer wasn't just a reaction. It's something that I spoke and told internally the spike stuff that I'm doing, and that it's going up. And they even took, like, not permission. I said that I'm going to use the spike.gg account to retweet it.
Mhm.
It wasn't a no. It was like of okay, but I like it was it's not preferable, but if you want to do
Sure.
it, maybe. Yeah, exactly. So because it's not it's the brand's name as well.
Mhm.
It's not my space, but we have access to the account because we publish articles for the tweets. And then basically I went live with it, and the ironic thing is that after all those like 6 days of constantly offline or like doing Twitter spaces and stuff,
Mhm.
um, in 1 hour after posting it, he's online on Slack, he's online on Twitter, he's
Mhm.
responding to emails. So you were there basically.
Yeah.
And then he came on Slack, thanked me, which I didn't understand a lot. And
Mhm.
then he said that he was going to do us right. And then he said some bunch of things that I felt like maybe he acknowledged he did something wrong. Um, and then suddenly his tone switched to like, what happened to the 24th deadline? And
Sure.
then while I was responding, I found myself booted off Slack. So
Damn.
yeah, so
Holy moly, this is some bipolar shit.
Yeah.
yeah, so it's I think even the tweets were like just a reaction, because you can see for yourself that at that time, I'm not sure if you followed it by the moment,
Mhm.
but some tweets got tweeted, deleted, tweeted, edited, deleted, edited. So there were
He's very
like he
brash, I
tweeted a
guess.
lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
so
I saw some people like fucking pay your staff, and he just responds with "fuck you."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Exactly.
Artur,
yeah,
how old are
Cool.
you, bro? Like, I guess he is actually younger than people realize, but um, I, yeah, I didn't. Yeah, his reaction to me seemed extremely irrational. And he was trying to justify it by saying how much that he'd done for the community and that he'd changed people's lives. And I don't know what you guys think, but I'm sat there thinking, you haven't paid your staff. You're in arrears of $40,000,
Mhm.
where I see you dropping hundreds of subs in like some fucking popular Valorant streamers
Yeah.
chat, and then asking to play with them. You know what I mean? Like, you are trying to buy friendship with pro players, but you're not trying to not trying to do the right thing by your employees. So it seems like the money definitely wasn't there. I mean, I assume it wasn't there at the
yeah.
time, but it was at some point. Um, because he was fucking splashing it around, and we heard about the party in Malta and all this sort of ridiculousness. And I've been to one of his parties before. I know how they go. Like I literally benefited from his ridiculous spending by being at one of these parties and fucking, you know, drinking my face off. So
Yeah.
what is it with his value system? Why is he spending all this money on subs and trying to buy friends of people that are never going to care about him, and they're not paying his stuff? How does this happen?
He always said, like, even in like in Slack and in meetings and stuff, that I'm bad with financials. But there is an extent when someone is bad with financials, you know. And I think even the statement that he gave Esports at that moment, because Esports took a statement out of him for
Yeah.
that article when he said, like, he because the thing is, Artur thought maybe, okay, his work for the community is very appreciated, like it's appreciated for sure, and all the streamers appreciate what he's doing. But at the same time, if when you go to Esports and say, I have spent over 400K on donations, like,
It's a shit ton.
yeah, like,
But I think that's the
that
issue too.
statement, yeah, that statement doesn't help you. It's against you, because
Yeah.
when we're asking for just 40, like, it's literally 10% of all the money that you spend.
Yeah.
Like, those streamers, okay, they will defend you, but they won't come to your rescue. Okay, they appreciate what you're doing, and the entire community appreciates what you're doing. But it's not how it goes. Okay, donate that, but clear everything first. It's like you need food, but like you go buy Funko Pops or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you have $50, and instead of
Relatable.
spending it on food, instead of spending it on food that you actually need, and you're hungry and you're dying, starving, you just go buy like some anime Funko Pops.
Yeah, it's like comparing what a
hug them.
12-year-old would do with $100 as opposed to what an adult would do with $100.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
I think this is a common enough story, though. Even like when you look at the NFL, the amount of players that get signed, like they go through university, they get signed to the NFL, they make millions and millions of dollars in 4 or 5 years, and then within 10, they're back broke, like living off the state, and all this sort of stuff. Because just listening to this, there's a lot of stuff here that I didn't know about until this very moment, like the parties and all this. The 400K, I'd actually read that, but I'd forgotten about it, and that just really strikes me as the same kind of thing where I don't know what his background is like, but obviously came into a lot of money from the OP Skins project, and then you get used to this kind of showing off and throwing money around, and you start to realize, like, oh, if I donate enough money to Shroud, he'll play a game with me. Oh, cool, like there's 100K gone, and it's nothing when you've got 2 mil, but then after you've, you know, donated to Shroud and Pokemon, all these other 20 people, you've got no money left, and you suddenly realize, like, shit, I've hired all these people thinking I had this cash. I think, like, I can appreciate that that's something that happens in traditional sports and just in general. Lottery winners, again, another great example. I remember reading a story about a guy who was a janitor, won the American lottery, so a lot of fucking money, and then ended up going back to being a janitor within 5 years. Like, it's just ignorance and not really knowing, like you're saying, being bad with money on a whole nother level. But it fucking sucks when that's involved in esports. And that's another question, actually, Hassam. I'm not sure, like, from your perspective, do you see some of this as like almost malicious? Because 7 months, when somebody kind of sells you peddles you the bullshit of I'll pay you soon or next month or whatever it is, and like that could be you losing your house, you know, it could be you not fucking feeding yourself or whatever. Like, people got bills to pay, and I know that was the thing for me when I have these like long ass invoices, the year and 2 months, and I'm being told every month, oh yeah, next week, you know, February 12th, March 12th, and so on. It's like, bro, if I'm not getting paid, just fucking tell me, so I don't think I've got this money coming in and now I missed some bills or whatever it is.
Find a different job or a different avenue or some shit too.
Yeah.
For sure. And continue with this.
No, go ahead, Mustafa, please.
Honestly, I think maybe that, like, the reason it prolonged is because it's I do writing out of passion, and even if I like, I have years of experience, at the first few years, actually, like the first couple of years, I wrote for completely free, like being compensated with like game keys and stuff like that. So I think the entire, like, now the culture of esports is being taken more seriously. It's being taken more of a job, more of a income, more of actually a role that you're filling at the company. And these companies are starting to realize that they have responsibility towards their employees, and they can't just hire 20 people, work for free, and then just throw them out and bring another 20 that's willing to work for another year for free. So that maybe that prolonged this because I had other things on the side, and maybe that's what distracted me and like just suddenly made me realize that it's 7 months. But yeah.
So, as it stands, we saw this change of heart overcome Artur. I think it happened sort of overnight, and he sort of said he'd be selling his equity and be getting out. And I mean, this was weaved in with some promises of suicide from him. So obviously, very emotional response, but not something we don't take seriously, even if it's emotional. But he sort of says that the acquisition of the site is occurring now. So.
Yeah.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, get your head right, man. There's no doubt that is sort of required. But from your perspective, Mustafa, obviously, I'm keen to sort of know, as the dust is clearing, so to speak. If obviously, are you happy with this resolution? I mean, are you happy with this resolution? B, have you been paid yet? And C, what's next for you? I'd love to know.
I just wanted to make it clear that I don't wish anything bad personally towards Artur. Like I like even if I met him in real life, I'll make sure to make that clear to him as well. But like if like the entire resolution of it, if he sells his equity in the Spike and whoever the new owner is, or if the money that gets transferred to Artur eventually gets transferred not just to me, the current employees of the Spike that maybe are still owed, and everyone basically. I think that would clear everything, and maybe even give him, like, I know that he said he's quitting gaming, he's quitting esports, but I'm going to say this as well because the guy has passion towards the entire space. Like I remember there's an article about him early on, like a few years ago, that says he's a serial entrepreneur, and he actually is. That's the entire explanation behind reviving the Forge and then shutting it down, reviving Top Skins and shut. So he's always looking for
but
that.
only one of the ventures actually worked.
Yeah.
But that's one of the kids. That's the issue of being a serial entrepreneur.
He buys things from the candy shop at school and he sells it to his classmates for a markup. Like, it sounds like he made it big off one idea, and whether he was lucky or just smart, whichever one. But since then, he's not done a thing right. He's not.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel that's the issue with being a serial entrepreneur, though. It's like you're starting so many things and you're kind of like used to failure, and it's just like, the next one's going to work, the next one is going to work, the next one's going to work, until it actually works. And once that works, there's a possibility that that's going to be enough to pay everything else that's failed. But also the thing about serial entrepreneur is most of the time it's like you're starting shit on your own and you don't involve like 10 other people or whatnot, and you don't make things difficult for
people
10
that
other
get caught up in this shit.
Exactly.
It's not a game.
Exactly. So it's still a serious issue, like, at this point, because being a serial entrepreneur is not a bad thing, because you want to try to find success in being your own boss. But also, if you're making it difficult for the people that you are quote unquote hiring at this point and not paying them, now it's not only difficult for you, but it's going to be difficult for 10 other people that's going to stick around with you until all of that is resolved. And once that is resolved, the little that you make, you still end up with nothing left in return, because you've used all that money that you've made to pay off all the debt. So it's just a vicious cycle at that point, where at some point it's not necessarily to know when to quit it, but it's to know how to manage that a little bit better. And I think we see that now. Like, he spent $400,000 in donations, where it could have been like, again, it's back on his own money. So in his own money, it means there's probably personal things that he has to take care of too, like his own house and shit like that as well. And now he puts it into like the quote unquote marketing. This could be an excuse to be like, hey, I'm going to get the big streamers to get my name out, get the Spike's name out. And then hopefully that's going to throw shit on the wall so that more people could start reading about the Spike. And then hopefully they get into the project of like the top skins, OP skins, put that onto the website. I could already see where this is going with what he was trying to do. And unfortunately, when all of those it falls like a domino. And then now it all falls on you, unfortunately, for Artur at this point. And I do agree with you here, Mustafa. Like, I feel that he does, like, he always loved esports and he has his heart at the right place. But unfortunately, in that process, he's fucked over a lot of people in that sense. And if he's fucked over people so far in with Envision, with maybe not OP skins because he actually profited out of it, but with the Forge game and with you guys, then at some point he's got to call it quits. Unfortunately,
I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. You cannot say he has his heart in the right place when he doesn't pay people. Ben Silly.
100%.
Like you can't say you can't say that he has a fucking heart for the community when it is literally the people that make up the community that he shits all over.
Yeah.
He has a heart for making money off other people. I'm sorry. I don't think this is reasonable. He was friendly towards me. But you can't say he's passionate about the community when it's that very community that he takes a steaming shit over with this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You cannot let him get away with this shit, and you cannot mitigate his fucking behavior, bro. Seriously. This is absolutely ridiculous. Like, people are getting, their livelihoods are literally getting fucked with. So I'm not going to sit here and tickle his fucking pickle dick about this. This is absolutely unacceptable. I want to sort of, on a different note, you know, hopefully a lighter one. I want to know what's next for you, Mustafa, as well, because obviously you've been in the game for a while. Hopefully you're going to be in the game for quite a lot longer. I think I saw a release from you this morning.
Yeah, you did one this morning on League of
platforms,
Legends.
So tell us what's next for you.
Actually, everyone was amazing towards me. I got tons of offers from very respectable websites and from very respectable publications. And like Christian Bishop, he reached out to me personally, and we finalized everything on the same day, basically. And I joined esports.gg as a Valorant writer, as a League of Legends writer as well, because it's something that I watch a lot in my free time. So, like, I thought it's time as well to write content on that. And honestly, it has been nothing but, like, the entire team there is wonderful. Like, Mali there, Lawrence is like he's an amazing editor. Kendricks as well. Those are the three people that they like interacted with the most throughout these past few days. And Christian, like, personally checks up on me, and like he wanted to read my first piece once it went up. And honestly, I couldn't ask for a better opportunity and the better place to just like instantly move to as well.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Yeah, listen, Mustafa, we just want to take this chance to thank you for coming on the show. Obviously, it's a sensitive topic, and you're probably really, by this point, sick of talking about it. So we appreciate that for our benefit and for our viewers that you can sort of lay things bare, man. Just want to, first of all, congratulate you on your courage. And second, wish you all the best of luck in the future, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And now I go back to being a normal viewer.
Thanks so much, Habibi. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on, man. Much love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, what better way to bring my blood pressure down just a little bit more than have a look at some hot takes on Reddit? So, I mean, we got
one thing though, Uber, just before we get into that, because I also want to.
If I have to reach through the screen and strangle you, I will.
No.
That, right?
I think it's also to preface that, as Mitch is we were talking about before too. It's like all this shit. Okay, we want him out, but for the Spike, at least itself, there's still people that want to write articles. There's still people that are working within that site right now. And I'm pretty sure that wants to continue the passion into writing with TheSpike.gg. So once the ownership has been sold and we have this new ownership, we still have some great staff that is working with TheSpike.gg. We could definitely call Arthur out on what he's done, but I don't think that this should reflect what TheSpike.gg overall with the rest of the crew wants to bring out here for this news website.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Thanst for bringing it up.
Yeah. You don't have to strangle me now.
It's really important as well, just to finalize this. It's really important on like that the Spike GG is separated from Arthur, and that the Spike GG kind of continues to be around, because we don't want them to leave. We have VLR.gg, we have the Spike GG. Those are the two sites that I use, and that I'm aware of being kind of the best in the business. And it's really important that we have that level of competition to keep each other in check. When we look at scenes like Counter-Strike, there's a lot of controversy around the power that HLTV has, being pretty much the only website. I've worked Counter-Strike for over 5 years, and I only know HLTV. I don't use anything else, like Liquipedia a little bit as well, but for the most part, the power is with HLTV. So it's really important that we have that kind of diversity when it comes to just reporting, viewpoints, rankings, all this sort of stuff. So hopefully people won't be too harsh on the website itself now that Arthur's no longer part of it.
Yeah, good points. I'm glad we have someone who's a foil to my absolute unbridled rage. Because it is important to sort of support the people that are left in this guy's wake, because I know a lot of their moderators are still there and they are trying to sort of, you know, get more writers involved. So do watch this space, and just obviously the brand takes a beating here, but I don't think it's hard to find out who is at fault here. And I think, yeah, great point. We need that competition to keep, you know, something like the VLR site honest.